Inner freedom, for Epictetus, is not something granted by society, wealth, or power. It is a skill, an art, practiced quietly, moment by moment. Most people believe they are free because no one is physically restraining them. Epictetus disagrees. A person can walk wherever they want and still be a prisoner of fear, desire, and opinion. True freedom begins when the mind stops reacting automatically. When something happens, a delay, a loss, a harsh word, the untrained mind tightens immediately. It demands explanations, it seeks blame, it tries to regain control. Epictetus teaches that this reflex is the root of our suffering. Freedom is not found in fixing every disturbance, but in choosing how we meet it. The art lies in pause. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a small, quiet space. Epictetus invites us to live inside that space, to slow down our judgments, to question our first reactions, to remind ourselves that events are neutral. It is our interpretation that gives them weight. A free person is not untouched by life. They feel pain, disappointment, and fatigue, but they are not owned by these experiences. They do not let every emotion seize the steering wheel of the mind. Tonight, this freedom feels gentle. You are not being asked to solve anything. You are simply loosening the grip of the day. Let thoughts rise and fall without chasing them. Let concerns exist without answering them. This, too, is practice. Inner freedom is not loud. It does not announce itself. It feels like space opening inside the chest, like the mind setting down a heavy bag it has been carrying for too long. And in that space, rest becomes possible. What is truly in your control? Epictetus begins with a distinction so simple it almost feels disappointing until you realize how rarely we live by it. Some things are in your control. Most things are not. Your opinions, judgments, intentions, and choices belong to you. No one can reach inside and move them without your permission. Everything else, reputation, outcomes, other people's actions, even the body itself, exists outside that boundary. Suffering begins when we confuse the two. We try to control how we are perceived. We try to force certainty from an uncertain world. We exhaust ourselves managing events that were never ours to command. Epictetus calls this a kind of self-imposed slavery, handing over inner peace to forces that do not obey us. Control, as he defines it, is not about power, it is about ownership. You do not control whether today goes as planned. You do control whether you meet it with resentment or steadiness. You do not control loss. You control how tightly you cling to what was never guaranteed. This realization is not meant to feel cold. It is meant to feel light. When you stop demanding control over what lies beyond you, energy returns. The mind no longer braces itself against reality. It learns to cooperate with it instead. As you settle now, notice how little is required of you in this moment. Breathing happens without effort. Thoughts appear without invitation. You are not managing the night. You are simply present within it. This is the beginning of freedom, not by expanding control outward, but by drawing it gently inward to the only place it has ever truly lived. Epictetus warns that one of the quietest traps is also the most seductive, the need to be approved of. Praise feels harmless, recognition feels deserved, yet the moment your sense of worth depends on another person's reaction, you have surrendered something essential. Your peace now lives in someone else's hands, and they do not know they are holding it. External validation is unstable by nature. It changes with mood, fashion, misunderstanding, and chance.
To anchor your inner life to it is to anchor a ship to moving water. Epictetus does not say that approval is evil. He says it is unstable.
When you act well, let the action be enough. When you speak truthfully, let the truth stand on its own. If applause comes, it passes. If criticism comes, it also passes. Neither alters the quality of your character unless you invite it to. The deeper danger is subtle. Seeking validation trains the mind to perform rather than to live. You begin choosing words, actions, even beliefs, not because they are right, but because they will be rewarded. At that point, freedom quietly disappears. The Stoic response is not isolation, but independence. You may walk among others, work with others, love others, without needing their confirmation to remain whole. As the night deepens, imagine setting down the invisible weight of being seen correctly. You are allowed to exist without being evaluated. You are allowed to rest without being impressive. Nothing needs to be proven here. And in that absence of judgment, the mind begins to loosen its grip and grow quiet on its own. Epictetus is precise, almost surgical about suffering. He does not blame fate. He does not blame other people. He does not even blame events. He says suffering comes from one place only, our judgments about what happens. An event by itself is neutral. It simply occurs. Pain enters when the mind declares this should not be happening, or this must not be lost, or I cannot endure this. The suffering is not in the event, it is in the resistance. This is not a denial of hardship. Loss still hurts. Fear still arises. But Epictetus draws a crucial line between what is felt and what is added. The feeling appears naturally. The torment is what we pile on top of it. We suffer most when we demand that reality conform to our expectations. The Stoic move is quiet but radical. Remove the demand. When you stop insisting that life be different, the struggle loosens. The mind no longer tightens against every turn. What remains may still be difficult, but it is no longer unbearable. Epictetus compares this to carrying a burden. The weight does not increase, but the unnecessary tension does. Relax the grip, and the same load becomes lighter. As you rest now, notice how the body rests more deeply when it is not braced. Muscles soften when they are not preparing for a battle that never arrives. Acceptance is not the end of effort, it is the beginning of intelligent effort. And from that calm intelligence, a deeper peace quietly forms. Epictetus treats loss with an unusual honesty. He does not pretend it is painless. He simply refuses it to destroy the mind. He begins with a quiet reminder. Everything you love is on loan. People, possessions, status, even the body itself. None of these belong to us in any permanent sense. We are temporary custodians, not owners. Suffering intensifies the moment we forget this. Loss becomes unbearable when the mind says, "This was mine." It becomes survivable when the mind says, "This was given, and now it is returned." This shift does not erase grief, it steadies it. Epictetus emphasizes that emotions arise from thoughts, not events, not fate, thoughts. When a loss occurs, the first impression hits automatically. But what follows, despair, bitterness, collapse, comes from the story we attach to it. The Stoic practice is not emotional suppression, it is emotional clarity. You observe the feeling without feeding it false conclusions. You allow sadness without letting it become identity. You feel pain without declaring yourself broken. This is emotional strength, not coldness. By training the mind to distinguish between what is lost externally and what remains internally, something remarkable happens. Character survives intact. Dignity remains untouched. Even in loss, you still possess choice. Even in grief, you still possess reason. Even in uncertainty, you still possess yourself. As the mind understands this, emotions soften. They move like waves instead of storms. They rise, pass, and leave no wreckage behind. And in that steadiness, the nervous system settles. The breath slows, and rest comes more easily. Epictetus saw simplicity not as a lack, but as protection. A simple life is harder to disturb. A simple mind is harder to enslave. He observed that most anxiety does not come from poverty or difficulty, but from unnecessary complexity. Too many desires, too many attachments, too many conditions placed on happiness. When the mind depends on countless external things to feel at ease, peace becomes rare and fragile. Simplicity removes that fragility. To want less is not to settle for less. It is to reduce the number of things that can harm you. When your contentment is tied to status, approval, comfort, or possessions, every loss feels like a threat. But when your needs are few and your values are clear, life becomes lighter. Epictetus trained himself to be satisfied with what was sufficient, not luxurious, not impressive, simply enough. Enough food, enough shelter, enough purpose. Everything beyond that was optional, pleasant if present, irrelevant if gone. This simplicity creates inner strength. A person who needs little cannot be easily manipulated. Epictetus believed that freedom begins in the mind, and the mind, left untrained, is chaotic. Thoughts arrive uninvited. Impressions push themselves forward. If accepted without examination, they quietly take control. Discipline of thought is the practice of pausing. When something happens, the Stoic does not immediately agree with the first interpretation. Epictetus urges restraint. Do not let the impression carry you away. Between what occurs and how you respond, there is a small but powerful space. In that space, reason can intervene. This discipline is not about forcing positivity or denying reality. It is about accuracy. You ask, is this truly harmful? Is this within my control? Is this worth disturbing my peace? Most of the time, the answer is no. Thoughts exaggerate. They predict disaster. They replay imagined futures. Epictetus teaches that believing every thought is a form of self-harm. Not every thought deserves agreement. Some deserve silence. By repeatedly questioning impressions, the mind becomes calmer. Fewer thoughts escalate into emotions. Fewer emotions turn into suffering. The nervous system learns that not every stimulus requires a reaction. This practice creates mental steadiness, not rigidity, but balance. As the discipline deepens, the mind grows quieter. Thoughts slow. Inner noise fades. What remains is clarity, a simple awareness of the present moment, unburdened by unnecessary judgment. In that clarity, rest comes naturally. Epictetus reminds us that loss is inevitable. People we love may depart.
Possessions may vanish. Circumstances may change in ways beyond control. To live wisely is not to cling desperately,
but to prepare the mind so that loss does not surprise or terrify. He teaches a practice called premeditation malorum, the premeditation of adversity. This is not pessimism, it is a quiet strengthening. By imagining potential losses in advance, the mind becomes familiar with the idea of impermanence. When such events occur, they no longer shatter the inner world because the mind has already rehearsed their passage. The fear of loss often causes more suffering than the loss itself. Anticipatory dread twists everyday moments into anxiety. Epictetus instructs us to hold what is temporary lightly, appreciating it fully, but without dependence. This detachment is not cold or indifferent, it is a recognition that nothing in life is owned permanently. Mentally preparing for loss, we cultivate courage. We can grieve when necessary, but without panic. The mind retains reason, the heart retains balance. We can act generously, love deeply, and live fully, knowing that the natural course of life may remove what we cherish. In practice, this means reflecting daily. If today I lose what I love, can I endure it? Can I still act rightly? This reflection softens the blow of reality, allowing the Stoic to maintain serenity amidst change. As you consider this now, imagine holding your attachments lightly, not rejecting them, but freeing yourself from fear. Each breath becomes calmer, each thought steadier. In this readiness, the mind grows resilient, prepared to face the inevitable with dignity and peace. Epictetus emphasizes that wisdom is not an abstract ideal, but a daily exercise. The mind, like a muscle, strengthens through repeated effort. One morning of reflection does not create serenity. One day of virtue does not make character. It is the accumulation of small, deliberate acts that shape the inner life. Daily practice is the intentional return to principles. Each morning, one reminds oneself, today I may face loss, insult, or discomfort. I will respond with reason. I will act in accordance with virtue. Each evening, one reviews actions. Did I respond wisely? Did I cling to what I cannot control? Did I cultivate peace? These rituals train attention, cultivate awareness, and solidify self-discipline. Even mundane actions become opportunities. The simple act of enduring a minor irritation, a crowded street, a delay, a rude comment, becomes a chance to practice patience and clarity. Over time, these repeated exercises build a resilient mind, capable of facing greater trials without collapse. Epictetus warns that neglecting daily practice is like a body to stay fit without training. Without repetition, wisdom fades. Old habits return. The mind succumbs to fear, attachment, and emotional turbulence. Consistency is what separates theory from reality, aspiration from actual peace. Through daily practice, virtue is internalized. Reason guides instinct. Calmness becomes natural, not forced. The individual learns to greet each moment, pleasant or painful, with equanimity, and to let the world move around them without dragging the soul into chaos. As you imagine this now, consider each day as a step, each reflection as a gentle strengthening of the mind. Serenity is not found in a single insight, but in the rhythm of continual conscious effort. Epictetus teaches that life by its very nature is full of burdens. Responsibilities, losses, obligations, and unexpected events weigh on the mind. Yet the Stoic path is not to escape life, but to carry it lightly. The weight remains, but the manner of carrying transforms. Living lightly begins with understanding what truly belongs to you. Your thoughts, choices, and judgments, these are yours. Everything else, wealth, fame, the opinions of others, even the health of your body, is fleeting and outside your control. By consciously distinguishing between what is yours and what is not, the mind sheds unnecessary load. Attachment adds weight. When we cling to status, possessions, or external outcomes, we invite anxiety and grief.
Epictetus encourages detachment, not as indifference, but as freedom. Let the external world unfold as it will. Anchor yourself in reason, virtue, and inner calm. This is the art of moving through life unburdened, even amidst turmoil. Simplicity is a companion to lightness. Minimal desires, modest expectations, and clear priorities reduce the chances of overwhelm. Each decision made in alignment with virtue rather than excess is a small liberation. Each reflection on impermanence lifts the mind from the illusion of permanent possession. Living lightly is also an exercise in presence. The mind is not pulled into regret over the past or anxiety over the future. It experiences moments fully, yet without clinging. Even when challenges arise, a Stoic maintains a sense of spaciousness, a freedom within circumstance, a calm center amidst life's turbulence. By practicing this approach daily, the weight of the world diminishes. Thoughts no longer multiply burdens. Emotions no longer amplify difficulties. The soul becomes resilient, flexible, and, in a very real sense, free. As you consider this now, imagine carrying life like a feathered cloak, aware, engaged, but unweighted, gliding through the heaviness with steady breath and calm heart. As your mind absorbs these teachings, remember that the journey of Stoic wisdom is gentle, not forceful. You are learning to distinguish between what belongs to you and what does not, to let go of attachment, to face life's uncertainties without fear, and to cultivate serenity in every moment. Each practice, each reflection, each small effort to align with reason and virtue is a step toward a calmer, lighter existence. Now let the rhythm of your breath guide you. Inhale peace. Exhale tension. Imagine all burdens melting away, leaving only a quiet awareness of the present. The lessons of simplicity, discipline, acceptance, and mental resilience form a steady foundation beneath your mind, supporting you in calmness and clarity. Know that the world may remain unpredictable, and events will unfold beyond your control, but your response, your inner stance, is always yours to cultivate. Rest in the knowledge that you have prepared your mind, strengthened your heart, and embraced the art of living lightly, even amidst the heaviest circumstances. As sleep approaches, carry this reflective calm with you. Let your thoughts soften, your body relax, and your mind drift gently into stillness. Each lesson now becomes part of your unconscious, settling like soft light, guiding you into deep rest. And finally, if you have found value in this journey, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and like this video so you can continue exploring these teachings and drift into serenity with future content. Good night, and may your rest be as steady and peaceful as the mind you have trained.